Hi, friends. That was a little nerve-wracking. I messed up a little bit in the beginning there. Hey, guess what? Rosemary Z here. I want to talk to you about sugar. And one of the things I've been learning, I always like to tell myself, sugar is a slow poison to the body. Now, what I've been finding, though, is how to substitute honey for sugar, especially with baking and things like that. So the primary reason I don't use white or brown sugar, which, by the way, unless it specifically is called raw or turbinado sugar, it's basically just white sugar with a bit of molasses added back in for flavor and color. So it's because they are highly processed at a very high temperature and with the use of chemicals that render them absolutely useless for nutrition of any kind. So, although, seriously, um, I just I'm just amazed at what I'm learning about sugar and the different things like that. You're going to be surprised. Now, although there are many foods that have only a small amount of nutritional benefit to them, sugar is one that I would actually consider to be on the negative end of the scale. And it's not just an O scale, but maybe a negative on the scale, not even a zero. The reason is that sugar not only doesn't offer any nutrients, but it also skyrockets blood pressure and blood sugar, which then drops significantly after. And then what happens? It's leaving your body for a greater desire for sweets and carbs and ultimately creating a vicious cycle of unstable blood sugar levels. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Once you cut out white sugar out of your diet, you're going to be surprised at how little you're going to crave that stuff. You won't even think about it anymore. It won't even dawn on you. Your body will feel better. You're going to really like it a lot. So, sugar temporarily stuns the immune system so that it does not effectively work in fighting illness. We use our body's precise nutritions and energies to digest and deal the sugar. So I would rather choose honey instead. Now, one great thing about honey is it does has a lower glycemic index, thus messing that it doesn't mess with your blood sugar, and it's not heavily processed and it's raw. And that means you need to get the unpasteurized state. That contains minerals and vitamins in it, actually. So it's still kind of a sugar. You can't gorge yourself on honey just because it isn't white sugar, but you can still compromise with your immune system, especially if you're fighting an illness. I don't, however, suggest honey for very small children. But anyway, so let me go on. Let me get off the soapbox of that. Honey is slightly sweet, and it's sweeter. It's really actually sweeter than sugar, so you can use it at a slightly less than a 1-to-1 ratio. So, for example, if I'm measuring out to, like, for example, I made, what did I make yesterday? Sorry, macaroons, okay? It called for a half a cup of sugar. I substituted about a third of a cup of raw honey. Now, when you get raw honey, it's very solid. So the best way to use it is to measure it out and then melt it. So I will put it in the microwave and melt it down to use it for cooking. So anything I'm baking, I will use a little bit less of the honey than what the sugar calls for. Now, it's also wise to turn the oven down, I would say by maybe 25 degrees when you're using honey, because it browns faster than sugar. So when I made my macaroons, I love when the bottom gets all browned and ooh, gooey, yummy. I did put the oven down to 300 instead of 325. And what I like about my macaroons is that it's paleo. Yeah, it's all it is like a coconut flour. It's coconut egg whites and honey, and I think I put a little dash of vanilla extract. No, I'm sorry, almond extract. That's what it was. So if you want that recipe, just let me know. I'll get it out to you. So anyway, with that being said, it's easier to switch than you think. And I think if you can kick the sugar habit, you're doing yourself a huge favor. Okay, end of story. Click the link below. Check out the blog. I'm going to talk about this more in my blog, and I want to thank you very much. Rosemary Z. Bye-bye.